Well, hello and good afternoon and welcome to this week's assembly. I have to say, if I've got a spring in my step or a smile on my face, it is because we are so delighted to have so many of our children in the junior school back here on site with us. It's great to hear the sound of young voices playing outside. We've got our reception class, we've got year 1, we've got year 6, we've got our nursery back, and I have to say, what really strikes me is that some of the things that we really worried about as adults in terms of planning for their return, such as wearing a face mask, social distancing, the thermal imaging camera, all those sorts of things, we thought, gosh, how will that impact upon such young children? Well, some of our worries, if not all of our worries, have proved to be completely misplaced, because actually they are just thrilled and delighted after such a long time to be back together as one group. So we welcome them back, but of course that's the beginning of a journey to bring everybody back onto the site physically. And I know that for so many of you at home as well, that the isolation which goes with lockdown, it is challenging. And I think you have, as a school, as a school group, shown such incredible courage. And I know from talking to so many of you that you're supporting each other during this time. But as each week passes, the number of children back in school increases, and I think we can face the future with real confidence. Now, I know that many of you have had exams last week, year 10, year 12, and of course year 9 have got them this week. And once again, can I just say how well you are obviously engaging with this process? The feedback from your teachers is quite extraordinary. And, you know, I think that the fact that you've managed to remain motivated and working so hard throughout all of this period is really incredible and really sets you apart from so many other young people, I have no doubt. Now, year 10, I know you've got a really interesting activities week coming up in front of you this week. And I know that year 12, you're beginning to sort of engage with the whole process of thinking about the future and thinking about university. And I think there's been so much doom and gloom recently, and in terms of the world outside, in terms of COVID-19, that actually to begin to now start thinking about the future, whether because you're in year 12 and you're thinking about going to university, or other stages in your journey through school, I think thinking about the future is what all of us now have to really focus on as much as possible. I just want to say a little bit more about Black Lives Matters. Obviously there's been a good deal in the news about that over the past couple of weeks, but particularly this week. And I think really that an awful lot of the debate in the national media this week has really been, how on earth do we make sense sometimes of a past or history which is uncomfortable and which is challenging. And we've seen various statues taken down, and we've seen this sort of a debate about really which figures in the past, how we appraise their legacy. You know, who should we be celebrating, and who should we be condemning? And I think what I would say is that it's really important that we don't imagine that history ever is straightforward, or that narratives are simple. And I think that as a historian of the Holocaust, as I consider that I am, I recognise the fact that sometimes it's physical absence, it's what's not there, which as a historian can make a very, very strong impression. And sometimes it's what you do see which makes a very strong impression in terms of a historical artifact, perhaps a ruin or a museum or an old building. But I think the thing which we've really got to focus on during these times is to remember that historical narratives are complex, they're often contradictory, and that what we must do always is to be prepared to ask questions which are uncomfortable or which are difficult. George Santayana, the famous philosopher, said that those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat history. And I think that's very true, because I think there's historical lessons which are interesting for us to learn about historical events. But then also that there's contemporary lessons which we can learn from studying the past. And I think that at this point in time, what we as a community have to do is that we do need to look at our past and think about the way our community's history, and I'm sure that there'll be particular individuals or old Rossalians who we may all take views on in terms of their actions in the past. But I think what's really, really important is that we look forward with an absolute resolve to ensuring that we are as diverse and inclusive a community as we possibly can be into the future. And with that in mind, at this point in time, I don't want to make grand statements or gestures. What I really want to do is to hear from you in terms of what your thoughts are about how we can be better as a community. And when we all come back together in September, I'm very keen to establish a council, if you like, a student council, really to pick apart some of these issues and to discuss issues such as diversity and inclusiveness. Because as I said last week, what really matters is what you think, not what I think. But with that in mind, please do write to me and share your thoughts on things that we can perhaps do better. For example, I've already heard from one old Rossalian who said to me, well, you know, have you thought about your history curriculum and what you do teach in history with this in mind? Now, I think to some degree we probably have, but obviously there's always more that we can do. So, have a great week. I've spoken to some of you now on Zoom, or I've spoken over the last couple of weeks, and that's been a real pleasure. But if I haven't, do rest assured that we are so keen to connect with you as soon as we possibly can. But have a good week, and until this time next week, goodbye.
Welcome back on this beautiful day to Rossall School, and it's our first day of welcoming back our Year 10 pupils in small groups. It was so heartwarming today to see their big smiles on their faces as they came in. I'm not sure the smiles had much to do with their experiment that they did on the beach, or even with the fact that they got to play with lights and mirrors in their physics lab, or even the artwork that they did in the art studio. I think it was all to do with the opportunity for human interaction, not online but in person. Something that we all took for granted in school for such a long period of time, such a familiar sight, and yet at the moment such a distant memory. We can't wait for more of our pupils to return. We're also exceptionally excited about our new pupils joining us, and we're excited for all those of you who are about to go on a journey as you transition to the next stage of your learning. I had the distinct pleasure, along with Mr. Preston and Ms. Jones, to meet with so many of our pupils via Zoom who have been enjoying the pre-sixth form programme. The positivity and enthusiasm of all of these students was infectious, and I'm delighted that we will have such a wonderful cohort of students beginning their sixth form studies with us in September. Our excellent remote learners for this week are all drawn from Year 7 to 9, and they have been working very hard over the last week to prepare for their exams. Particular mention for exceptional enthusiasm, revision, thoughtful questions go to James Woods, Chloe Spencer, Mia Seed, Joe Smith and Vismaya Pillay. Well done to all of you, but actually we wish the very best of luck to all of our Year 7, Year 8 and Year 9 pupils this week. Remember that this is your opportunity to show what you've learned, but also remember that this is only one part of your journey as you grow and develop into ever more effective and confident learners. Wishing you a wonderful and productive week. As a parent and a teacher, I feel keenly the importance of what I say and do to ensure that those who I care about always feel loved, supported, and empowered to become the very best versions of themselves. The author, L.R. Nost, summarises rather well this particular idea in this poem. I'm here to parent you, my child, when you're calm and when you're wild, to hear, to share, to lead, to guide, hand in hand and side by side. Together we will learn and grow, play and talk and come and go. When times are hard and moods are grey, you and I will find our way. I'll be right here to see you through, guide, support and listen to. I'll teach, I'll learn, I'll help, I'll hold, so you will learn as years unfold that nothing you can say or do will make my love grow less for you. When I was a child, I didn't really appreciate anywhere near as much as I should have done the unconditional love that I received from my family and those close to me. Today, I celebrate and rejoice every single opportunity that I have when I can tell these people how much I love them. If you have a special message for a special person in your life, someone who has looked after you and cared for you, maybe somebody who's been there when you've been really down, or somebody who has really inspired you, then this is the week to tell them how much they mean to you. If you want to, share your stories or clips with us, and we will work with you to find a way to share that message with them as well.